We are sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Now it's time for people to come together and unite to give us equal access.
We just need change right now. No more talking.
We get to feel like we don't belong there. We get to feel like trash. We get to feel like garbage. We get to feel like we can't come here.
The pain you felt is going to be nothing compared to the pain George Floyd felt to fight for his life during those minutes. I still can't breathe.
Stop being quiet. Stop being silent. It's time to have a voice. I can't breathe.
And this is for my great-great-grandma and my ancestors before that, because we're still fighting for inequality just like they were back in the 1900s. This is for them.
We've been struggling in this country for 500 years from racism. Racism, racism, racism.
And now my children are able to be born into a world where they're going to be seen, and they're going to be seen as an equal.
The Black Lives Matter protests have transformed into a movement around the world. In these extraordinary times, we are committed to expanding the conversation surrounding racial injustice and what is sparking so many people to take action. Tonight, an ABC7 Eyewitness News special, From Protests to Progress, a conversation on the future of race, justice, and social equity in Southern California. We're going to hear from a number of voices tonight. We are hoping that this will be a productive conversation, and our goal here is to leave you with concrete steps we can all take to move forward.
An LA legend lost when a helicopter slams into a Calabasas hillside. Laker great Kobe Bryant, his 13-year-old daughter Gianna, and 7 others all killed in the fiery crash. Kobe spent 20 years in the NBA, all of them with the Lakers. Tonight, fans in Southern California and around the world mourning the loss of the Mamba, Kobe Bryant, dead at the age of 41.
We see the words, we hear them. It's hard to believe it's true. The realization that Kobe Bryant is indeed gone, becoming a devastating reality for millions tonight.
Kobe! Kobe! We don't stand here at LA Live without those championships. He created what this is.
I'm just so devastated. It's heartbreaking.
This was a man for all seasons. He was more than an iconic basketball player. He was someone who inspired millions of fans.
Kobe was an incredible family man. He loved his wife and daughters. He was an incredible athlete and a leader in a lot of ways. He inspired a whole generation of young athletes.
And when I first heard the news this morning, I didn't want to believe it. I thought it can't be true. As a member of the Laker family, it must have been just incredibly devastating, as it is for all Kobe fans.
Well, like you, Rob, I got a call early this morning from someone on the East Coast that said, it's what I'm hearing true. And then I checked it out and it was true. And it's still surreal for me, you know. I'm just devastated by it because I had an opportunity to spend some quality time with him over the last several months. And he was in such a good place after basketball, more relaxed. He was into his daughters. He was coaching. I mean, it just breaks my heart.
We have so much, yet we are so angry. We have evolved from melting pot to melting down. We're going in the wrong direction. Aren't we supposed to be getting better with age?
Illegals gotta go! Yes.
We aren't seeing each other. Instead, we judge each other.
You see the face of a stranger. In the blink of an eye, you've taken in their skin color, their ethnicity, their sex, age, clothes, even their accent. And you think you know them. That's facism. It sounds like racism, and in many cases it is. But there's so much more behind that face we don't know, and that ignorance is what's dividing us. Our first episode fittingly revolves around the face. Blackface. It is more than playing a character or putting on a costume. Blackface has a sinister legacy that we all should know. So when someone asks, what's wrong with blackface? This story will help you with the answer. And we warn you, what you're about to see you will find disturbing, and that's the point.
It was 2 years ago. Megyn Kelly speaks off the cuff about blackface. What is racist, she asks.
But what is racist? Because truly, you do get in trouble if you are a white person who puts on blackface on Halloween.
It was a difficult moment for the host, but perhaps she did us a favor, unintentionally pointing out this country's widespread ignorance about blackface, forcing a conversation that should be taking place in classrooms and households across the country, but isn't.
Oh, those comical endmen!
To me, I would say there's a lot wrong with blackface.
UCLA's Dr. Tyrone Howard, professor of education and expert on multicultural issues, helps us understand by taking us back to the 1830s, when slavery was alive and well, and minstrel shows were the popular form of entertainment.
And the minstrel shows were all about reinforcing black inferiority. And the way that whites, to entertain other whites, would reinforce that was to paint themselves with these black faces.
For 150 years, blackface lived on as one of the most devastating and racist examples of stereotyping.
They depicted black people as being unable to speak clearly. They depicted black people as being really cowardly. They depicted black people as being uneducated. They depicted black people as being lazy.
Well, why don't you get a job and go to work? You almost had me a job this morning.
And really of no value. And people laughed at these images. And people made fun of these images.
How would you like to go to work for me? Yes, ma'am. How much you gonna pay me, I hope? Well, let's see now. I'll pay you all your worth. No, ma'am. I gotta have some money.
The character names alone were an insult, like Darky on the Plantation or the Dandified Coon.
And the reality is, a lot of people looked at those images and saw those images and began to think, this is who black people are. And so those stereotypes have lasted for a long time, and blackface is a big part of that.
You may have heard the name Jim Crow. You may already know it's associated with a racist era in our history. But Jim Crow wasn't a politician or a racist leader. He was a fictional blackface character created by a white actor pretending to be a slave. The horribly demeaning character became so popular when slaves were freed, laws were created to deny African Americans their rights, and they named the laws after Jim Crow.
So there's a lot that's wrong with blackface because that's an ugly episode in our history. It's a painful thing to think about being portrayed in that way. And people see this as, just not a big deal. It's just blackface. Get over it.
And so it continues. From politicians who have embarrassingly done it, to partiers claiming to be playing a character on Halloween, to college gatherings, to mainstream movie roles, to TV hosts asking, what's wrong with blackface?
I think we've got a lot of education to do. I think here we are in the 21st century and we're still having to explain blackface to highly educated people. It speaks to the ways in which we've not addressed racism head on.
Now, if you watch that story and you learn things for the first time, you're like most of us, and that's a problem. Not with you, but with what we teach both at home and at school. This history that we need to remember and learn from and not forget and deny. The vaccine is so important, and that's why we wanted to spend an extended period of time today getting your questions answered.
This will be one of the most interactive half hours of Eyewitness News ever.
First up, that Moderna FDA advisory panel voted 20-0 to recommend for emergency use authorization. Dr. Carlisle, you do a lot in public health policy. What does this signal to the American public?
What this means is hope. We've been in this dark tunnel called COVID-19 for almost a year, and finally, there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Dr. Tidwell, at AC Sunset, wants to know, are we all going to be given the same type of vaccine?
So with the exciting news about the introduction of the Moderna product that we expect to hear at the end of this week, it could be that healthcare workers and patients are going to start receiving, for example, the Pfizer vaccine. But as the other products become available, that may be the product that the next person gets vaccinated with, Moderna or any of the other future products.
Okay, listen up. Listen up. Okay, shut up. Listen up. Listen up, please. If I take a kneel with you guys, will you give me your verbal acknowledgement that this is a peaceful matter? I will be a model, and I can lead.
Okay, we got Carlos in Beverly Hills.
We're getting hit by tear gas.
Oh, dear. Okay.
We just got hit by tear gas. You can see it over there. It happened at Rodeo Drive and Santa Monica. Oh, I got to stop because I can barely, I can't even keep my eyes open. But yeah, we saw people running toward us, and there you see the cloud of smoke. I'm sorry, the tear gas just hit us. And some people are setting off fireworks, but that was tear gas by the police or someone. And it's, hold on, people are running in our direction, as you can imagine. So we're trying to get out of the way.
This week, we launched a series, Our America Surviving COVID. Each night, we have focused on COVID-19 survivors, speaking with those who battled the virus. Tonight, we turn to healthcare workers, the heroes risking their lives to save as many as they can from the pandemic that has gripped the world this year. Our community journalist, Ashley Mackey, shows us how healthcare workers in Inglewood are managing.
This is something that I said I will never forget.
Charity Maldonado has worked at Centinela Hospital in Inglewood for 29 years. Out of all that time, she says this past year has been the most demanding and unforgettable.
It's been challenging. It is something that has tapped into your inner being of what it is to be an ICU nurse.
Charity has faced the pain of losing patients and has had to balance taking care of herself, her family, as well as the safety of people she comes in contact with daily.
I pray. I ask God every day to guide us, to protect us, the love of family, the love of friends. Your co-workers are your best support. Sorry.
Ultimately, the sense of physician and nursing feeling, is this ever going to end, or are we going to see some light at the end of the tunnel?
Dr. Patel is the Chief Medical Officer at Centinela Hospital. His team oversees all COVID-19 patients. He says his staff also deals with depression from the self-isolation needed to protect their loved ones.
We have set up some counseling, we have set up some web sites, we have set up some hotlines to talk this out, support groups, so it has helped, but it's an ongoing thing.
Dr. Patel says there's also the lingering fear and potential risk of contracting the virus. For Dr. Dadakian, this fear came true.
I was infected in early March of this year and was hospitalized. It was very humbling, especially for a physician to put his care into the hands of other people.
Dr. Dadakian says being a survivor himself has not only made him appreciate life more, but also has helped him be a better doctor.
I came pretty close to checking out, and having not checked out, I'm grateful for everything from this point on. Super grateful. And more understanding of patients' illnesses too.
Nurses and doctors here at Centinela Hospital face many challenges, but they still have hope.
Now, more information has been documented, more studies have been done, more knowledge is gained. Even though the second wave is here and bigger than the first wave, I really believe that we're in a better place to handle it now than we ever were before.
In Inglewood, Ashley Mackey, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Well, Mark, this is such a heartbreaking death to report. Chadwick Boseman was a fast-rising star on his way to becoming a superstar. He'd already played some Black American icons before he ever put on that superhero suit to play the title role in Black Panther.
We must find a way to look after one another.
Chadwick Boseman helped 2018's Black Panther become a blockbuster, one of America's top-grossing titles of all time, and easily making more than $1 billion globally. As T'Challa and Black Panther, Boseman struck movie gold. At the film's premiere, he told me what he hoped fans would take away from this groundbreaking movie.
I think the quality of it is what they should know. It's not just a novelty of seeing this, Black superhero. I've never seen it before. I think it is a good movie, period. They should know that.
He would go on to play Black Panther in other Marvel movies, a universe he enjoyed.
You feel like you're a part of something way bigger than yourself, which is a great thing.
Boseman said bringing King T'Challa to life in Black Panther was the honor of his career. On his passing, Marvel Studios said, "Your legacy will live on forever." Boseman died on the same day Major League Baseball celebrated Jackie Robinson Day. Before Black Panther, Bozeman played the baseball legend in the movie 42.
You give me a uniform, you give me a number on my back, I'll give you the guts.
In April, wearing his 42 baseball cap, Bozeman posted a video on Instagram talking about Jackie Robinson and also talking about a plan to assist healthcare workers during COVID-19. Bozeman was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer in 2016, but would continue working during and in between chemotherapy sessions and various surgeries. That includes the 2016 film Marshall, where he played Thurgood Marshall, the first African-American Supreme Court justice.
Mr. Spell, I'm Thurgood Marshall with the NAACP.
In 2019, he played a New York police detective in 21 Bridges, and in 2020, he was in director Spike Lee's Da 5 Bloods. Bozeman had several films lined up, including Ma Rainey's Black Bottom with Viola Davis. It is now in post-production.
Viola Davis tweeted tonight saying, "No words to express my devastation of losing you," calling it an honor to work beside him. And from Jordan Peele tonight, calling it a crushing blow. Ryan Reynolds saying it's a brutal loss. And from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, these words: "Thank you for shining your light and sharing your talent with the world." Reporting live, George Pinocchio, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
George Pinocchio, thank you. Disney Executive Chairman Bob Iger tonight tweeting, "We are all heartbroken by the tragic loss of Chadwick Boseman, an extraordinary talent and one of the most gentle and giving souls I have ever met. He brought enormous strength, dignity, and depth to his groundbreaking role of Black Panther, shattering myths and stereotypes, becoming a long-awaited hero to millions around the world, and inspiring us all to dream bigger and demand more than the status quo. We mourn all that he was, as well as everything he was destined to become." Now, an Eyewitness News investigation. There is a great deal of tension between the African-American community in Los Angeles and the law enforcement officers who patrol LA and LA County. And a new ABC7 analysis of police data reveals the stark racial disparities that exist when it comes to who gets pulled over. Eyewitness News reporter Carlos Granda takes a closer look at LAPD and the LA County Sheriff's Department in this exclusive investigation.
They indicated that they needed to search my vehicle for drugs.
Compton Mayor Asia Brown was pulled over by a Los Angeles Sheriff's Department deputy in her own city back in June of last year. She says she was in her Volvo station wagon with her family and says she was surrounded by a half dozen sheriff's vehicles. She believes it only happened because she's black.
They then went into my car and searched illegally my center console, backseat of the car. There was a deputy shining the light in my daughter's face, and I believe he was trying to incite my husband.
Statistically, her story isn't unique to people of color in Compton or Los Angeles County. An ABC7 analysis of Los Angeles Sheriff's Department data from 2018 and 2019 shows that black Angelenos were more than twice as likely to get stopped by the LA Sheriff's Department than their white counterparts. Brian Williams is the executive director of the Sheriff's Civilian Oversight Commission.
It's surprising, no. It simply reaffirms what most folks already knew.
ABC7 found the stop rate for black residents was about 75 per 1,000 people during these years, but the rate of arrest for white residents was only 29 per 1,000 people. Also, black residents made up nearly 18% of the stops, but just 8% of the LA County population. In Compton, where Mayor Brown was stopped and searched, black residents weren't necessarily more likely than white residents to get stopped, but they did make up 42% of stops, but only 29% of the population.
Clearly, there's something going on. The question is, what are the conditions that exist that allow this to happen? What's going on in the deputy's mind? Are there any policies in place to really stop what I think is some really disparate treatment for Black and Latino drivers that are happening here in Southern California?
The Sheriff's Department didn't comment specifically on ABC7's findings, but as a general matter, it says numbers don't tell the whole story.
I would venture to say, just based on my own personal experience, is that many of these contacts are just warn and advise, trying to get them, the person that you've stopped, to remind them like, hey, you can't speed here. Hey, you have to make a complete stop. And a lot of those are just warn and advice and not necessarily stops that have led to citations.
Jermel Henderson is a restaurant owner and new father who says he was also pulled over at gunpoint by sheriff's deputies in Compton.
She just looked at me and did a U-turn and got behind me and pulled me over for no reason. And when she hopped out the car very aggressive with her gun drawn, like for no reason. I asked her why she's doing that. She said, "Oh, this is what we do in Compton."
ABC7 found the LAPD stop numbers from the last decade show blacks were 4 times more likely to be stopped by police than whites. In the last 10 years, LA police have stopped nearly 8 million pedestrians and drivers. About a quarter of those stopped were black, but less than 1 in 10 of the LA City population is black. We reached out for a response from the LAPD, but they were not able to accommodate our request at this time. The data also shows LASD didn't find any more contraband from searching black residents than from white residents. A similar trend emerged in ABC7's analysis of just traffic stops, which make up about 3/4 of LASD stops. What the data can't show, however, is why the stop was made, which is why some policing experts say disparity alone doesn't equal bias.
To know exactly the motivation behind a traffic stop, you'd actually have to get into the mind of that individual, because every traffic stop is just based on observations by that individual deputy that is out on patrol.
Protests like these have erupted all over Southern California and the country. Mayor Brown says the reason is because this is an issue from coast to coast.
This data confirms my own personal experience and knowledge of law enforcement with Black people.
Williams says they're using this data to change that.
What policies and procedures can we put in place to reduce and ultimately eliminate this disparate treatment? That's the ultimate issue.
I'm Carlos Granda, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Can you believe all of that weather in just like 30 seconds? It's amazing, Giovanna, but we do have a lot going on. And down in San Diego, look at this fire NATO that we had a picture of. Oh, wow, that is caused around fires when the air gets really, really hot. Take a look at this graphic I've put together for you that shows how these weather systems form, because the fires generate their own wind. So the air gets really hot around the fire, and then, of course, the air starts swirling around due to the fact that the earth is rotating, and that produces these columns or fire NATOs. You can imagine how difficult it is for firefighters to be in and around this area because the wind can shift just like that very quickly, very dangerous.
This whistleblower says one of the alleged gangs operating here out of the Compton Sheriff's Station is known as the Executioners. And according to him, becoming a member requires deputies to beat or shoot someone during an arrest.
There are parties after after shootings. Some people say it's to celebrate that, the deputy's alive, and others believe it's, to celebrate that, they're going to be inking somebody.
That's Deputy Art Gonzalez testifying as part of a lawsuit against the LA County Sheriff's Department. In his deposition, he says violent arrests earned deputies the right to wear the Executioner's gang tattoo. He also says the group has used illegal arrest quotas and falsely reported seeing a gun to justify violence.
We call it, a ghost gun because there was never a gun.
Gonzalez's testimony is connected to a lawsuit filed by Sheldon Lockett, who's accused deputies of beating him during an arrest. Deputies suspected Lockett of attempted murder. By the time prosecutors dropped the charges, Lockett had spent 8 months in jail. According to Gonzalez, Deputy Samuel Aldama and Ms. Reina Orrego were seeking notoriety from the Executioners during that arrest. Both deputies deny any wrongdoing. They also deny involvement in a gang, even though Aldama admitted to having that notorious tattoo during testimony in a separate civil lawsuit filed against him in the department.
What else does that tattoo have on it?
As flames.
Flames? What else? Describe it to me.
It's holding a rifle.
Holding a rifle? The skull is holding a rifle?
Correct.
Sheriff Alex Villanueva says he's the first sheriff to impose policies forbidding alleged cliques in the department. He also says he's relieved 2 deputies of duty and transferred 6 others from the Compton station. But he denies the department has a serious gang problem. Gonzalez also has his own lawsuit against the department. He says he faced retaliation when he reported one of the alleged gang members for assault. In Compton, Danielle Lee, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Signs like this against squatting have become a common sight in parts of El Sereno. But about a month after activists from the group Reclaiming Our Homes started taking over these vacant houses owned by the California Department of Transportation, the activists are now receiving notices that they must leave the property.
My daughters and I were unhoused, and
We had to do whatever is necessary to be able to keep ourselves safe. We chose to occupy a vacant home because we felt the government was not doing its job fast enough, especially during a pandemic.
Martha Escudero says the group is now occupying 12 homes in the area.
According to the laws right now, it is unlawful for me to be there. However, I do feel it does leave room for some negotiation and some dialogue.
The homes were initially purchased by Caltrans to demolish in order to expand the 710 freeway, but that stalled in 2018 after decades of controversy.
They don't have a legal right to be in those homes. They know it, and they're doing an action, right, to bring attention to the issues.
State Senator Marilena Durazo, who represents El Sereno, says the activists have been in contact with their office.
We're in conversations both with Caltrans, with the governor's office, with the city of Los Angeles, and with the county of Los Angeles, and so that we could figure out who's actually going to manage these properties.
Luz Lopez Uribe is among the many residents in the community who are against what the activists are doing.
Caltrans needs to step up and do something about these squatters. And the way to fix this is sell the homes. The homes are going to be sold to the tenants that have been here the longest.
I don't want to leave this house. However, it doesn't necessarily state in this letter that we need to evict immediately, so maybe there's some room for negotiations.
Quite the sight this afternoon in Inglewood when Air 7 HD picked up a chase on the westbound 105 freeway just after 1 o'clock. L.A. County Sheriff's deputies were chasing a white pickup truck. The driver, believed to be under the influence, straddling lanes and whipping by traffic. Just before 1:30, the suspect gets off the freeway, jumps a median, and then drives through an intersection. He gets on and off the 105 several times with a sheriff's SUV right on his tail. But this is where it really got dangerous just before 1:30 p.m. Watch as the truck drives right off the ramp, fishtails on the shoulder, and then into oncoming traffic on the freeway. Drivers were forced to swerve as the truck comes right at them. This goes on for several minutes. At one point, the truck made a U-turn on the off-ramp and continued driving the wrong way on the shoulder of the 105. CHP stopped freeway traffic. They tried to keep other drivers safe, and officers finally backed off and then simply followed from above. Finally, after 5 heart-stopping minutes, the driver exited the freeway, drives into a neighborhood, and tried to hide. Deputies eventually caught up to him, took him into custody, bringing a very dangerous chase to an end.
A local woman is in a desperate fight to save her 32-year-old husband. He's in critical condition. He needs plasma. His wife is hoping you can help.
And that's our last conversation. I asked him, do you think you're gonna make it? And he said, I don't know. He said, I don't know.
Chloe Nguyen's husband, Ted Lee, on a ventilator now for nearly 4 weeks at Pomona Valley Hospital. Doctors tell her plasma donated from someone who's recovered from COVID-19 may be his last chance to survive.
We tried, and doctors tried, contact everywhere, but I don't know. I hope that my husband can hang on a little bit longer.
Chloe tested positive too, but has no symptoms. She's self-quarantined away from the young couple's 2.5-year-old son, Kendrick.
But he knows that his dad is not there. He opens his iPad and he saw my husband's picture and he said, Daddy, he knows that Dad is not there. But I know he misses him a lot.
Chloe shares her story tonight to encourage others to donate plasma through the Red Cross, even if it turns out to be too late for her husband of 5 years.
If they cannot help my husband, then at least they can help all the people, all the patients that in the same situation as my husband, because I don't know how long we have. Everyone's trying everything The doctors and nurses, they doing their best.
Just today, Chloe was able to see her husband for the first time in nearly a month, but only through a glass window.
Couldn't even touch him. All the machines hooked up to him. All the tubes. He looks comfortable. Because he's basically in a coma. He looks comfortable. But I don't want to let him go yet.
These are some of the rubber bullets that we're talking about.
None of this would be happening if not for what happened to George Floyd, and before him, Christian Cooper, and before him, Breonna Taylor, and before her, Ahmaud Arbery, and before them, so many, many others. This is a conversation that we've been having in a broader perspective regarding policing in America that we've been having for a very long time. The Watts riot in 1965, 1992, of course, that was after the beating of Rodney King. This has been a problem for a very, very, very long time.
That night, the energy, the anger, the frustration, it was palpable. You could feel it in the air. And it seemed like it had nowhere to go. It really grew with the protest.
We just got hit by tear gas. We just got hit by tear gas. You can see it over there.
I saw a crowd of people running at us, and then I see the cloud of gas right behind them heading in our direction. I thought at that moment, well, I'm live, I can't really run, so let me continue talking and describe what's happening. But that's when the cloud hit me, and after a few seconds, I just couldn't go on.
A towering statement on Hollywood's best-known street. The words, "All Black Lives Matter," painted on the street along Hollywood Boulevard at Highland.
I hope that, we can continue on, that we can get some actual change here.
We need to talk about this and get to the root of this. It's people all of all races sticking together.
But would these calls for change be just a moment in time or a movement? So much was still in store as 2020 wore on. Sports arenas empty, hospitals filled beyond capacity, political turmoil, and, of course, the pandemic.
As we come on the air right now at 4, we're following several developing headlines. Desperate pleas from health officials imploring people to stay home this holiday season as California passes an ominous milestone in the coronavirus pandemic.
A heartbreaking scene in the heart of historic LA. Olvera Street, usually bustling on Christmas Eve, empty. Many businesses shuttered.
And Orange County making it easier than ever to get tested, now offering free at-home COVID tests to all its residents. Thank you for joining us. Ellen and David are off today. I'm Colleen Sullivan.
And I'm Jory Rand. We're live right now here on ABC7, ABC7.com, and streaming live on our ABC7 Los Angeles app and Hulu Live. We begin here at 4 o'clock with breaking news, an exclusive video, a standoff after a wild pursuit, creating a traffic nightmare the day before Christmas for drivers heading to Vegas on the 15 freeway. The driver of this stolen car stopping in the middle of the freeway after a 30-minute standoff. Azusa police unleash a K9 who flies through the front driver's window. The man punching the dog out the window, but he remains inside. A crowd of officers moves in, armed, first appearing to tase the man before yanking him out. He's still fighting. Watch as police rain body blows on him as he struggles on the ground. Repeated punches to the torso before that man was finally taken into custody.
Now to the worsening coronavirus pandemic. This jarring number is our reality. More than 2 million Californians have been diagnosed with coronavirus. Even more alarming, this milestone comes just 6 weeks after we hit the 1 million mark. Despite this terrifying scenario playing out, health officials warn it can get much worse as millions head out for holiday celebrations. And check out this flight radar animation of all the air traffic over North America leading up to the Christmas holiday tomorrow. Eyewitness News reporter Amy Powell is tracking today's developments live. Amy?
Colleen, health officials have given repeated warnings about the dangers of holiday travel, and now there's concern that we could have another spike in the next few weeks.
The battle is getting tougher. California reaching a painful landmark. More than 2 million people diagnosed with COVID-19. Southern California hospitals out of ICU beds. Medical staffs working long hours caring for overwhelming numbers of COVID-19 patients, bracing for the possibility of a catastrophic surge in cases following Christmas and New Year's celebrations.
It is highly likely that every time you or others in your household leave your home, you will come into contact with someone who is infected.
Orange County setting another record for COVID hospitalizations. Nurses in the county protesting at 4 hospitals, upset about an increase in the patient-to-nurse ratio.
So instead of giving us more nurses, we got more work. Patients are going to die, nurses are going to break.
Ignoring warnings about the dangers of coronavirus infection posed by holiday gatherings and crowds, millions of Americans are traveling. The latest uptick in cases starting after Thanksgiving.
It's predictable. It's absolutely 100% predictable. Travel increases your risk of spread.
Tens of thousands of people are hospitalized across the country. According to the COVID Tracking Project, December has been the deadliest month since the virus started spreading in America. LA County officials making a grim projection.
We are forecasting that in this current surge between November 1st and January 31st of 2021, 8,700 people in Los Angeles County will die from COVID. That is nearly 3 times the number of people that died in the 9/11 terrorist attacks, and these people did not need to die.
The health department says anyone traveling needs to quarantine after returning to Los Angeles for 10 days, and that quarantine should start on the day you arrive. Reporting live, Amy Powell, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Amy, thank you. In our nation's capital, it appears there will be no Christmas miracle for the millions waiting on relief. House Republicans blocking an effort to get $2,000 payments directly to Americans, something President Trump himself said he wanted. The president has threatened he will not sign the $900 billion bill unless payments increase from $600 to $2,000. That bill still being sent to the president at his home in Florida, where he's spending the holidays. If he does not sign it, federal unemployment benefits for millions will end Saturday, as would many eviction protections, and it would delay those $600 payments going to families hit hard by the pandemic. And since this bill is attached to a funding bill, the federal government would also shut down at midnight on Monday.
The historic heart of LA may never recover from the pandemic shutdowns. Olvera Street, the oldest street in Los Angeles, is usually bustling for Christmas. But as Eyewitness News reporter Annabelle Munoz tells us, many shops and restaurants are closed and others are barely hanging on.
Olvera Street is known for its rich history, artisanal shops, and a lot of delicious Mexican food. There to be a large Christmas Eve celebration today, the last night of Las Posadas, reenacting Joseph and Mary's search for shelter.
Where we would dress up in the traditional garb and do a reenactment this evening, and people would come out to enjoy the festivities.
Instead, the doors to many businesses are shut today, or in some cases permanently.
Unfortunately, several of my neighbors have gone out of business. I know of at least 6 businesses that have folded for good, and it's very heartbreaking to see people that I've known for generations no longer in business.
Edward Flores owns Juanita's Cafe.
My great-great-grandmother started Celito Lindo here in 1934. My grandmother started Juanita's Cafe in 1944. So we're actually founding members of Olvera Street.
History Flores is keeping alive as he fries taquitos on Christmas Eve.
The first time since March that we've had near normal sales. Unfortunately, it's been down about 85 to 90%. This place exemplifies everything that's being discouraged: gatherings, tourism, fiestas, and all sorts of events that people would usually gather.
Fortunately, he says their landlord, the city of LA, offered rent forgiveness through the end of the year.
Starting in January, there has been no mention of that anymore. And I understand other businesses have not gotten this at all, so we're very fortunate. But we're at the height of the pandemic. Business is at the lowest that it's ever been, and so we're very concerned that we won't be able to survive into the next year until business picks up. Some of us may not at all.
His wish for 2021 is to see Olvera Street the way it's been for generations.
Hopefully we'll be looking at this place the way it once was, flourishing with people, visiting customers, fiestas, events, the traditional events that we do throughout the year.
Annabelle Munoz, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
With long lines outside many testing sites and delays in receiving results, several startups are swooping in with what seems to be the ideal solution. Orange County reporter Tony Cabrera joins us now live with a look at how at-home testing might work. Tony.
Jory, we know so many people have waited in long lines for a COVID test. I know I waited about 3 hours once, but there are more options that are hitting the market now, including those that allow you to take a test in the comfort of your own home. At-home testing became more widespread in Orange County this week. The healthcare agency is now offering it to all OC residents for free. One is a saliva-based test from Ambry Genetics that first became available last month in only Anaheim and Santa Ana. The other is a nasal swab test by Picture Genetics. Other types of at-home tests are also hitting the market, like this molecular test from BioSpider Technologies in Carlsbad, which takes a more proactive approach for those who are asymptomatic. This surveillance testing lets a group know if at least one member is positive.
And we have results that are comparable or better to PCR. So you're talking 99% plus efficiency.
Once you purchase the test on their website, they'll ship you a box. Inside the box are 4 tubes or more, depending on your group, one for each person. You gargle using the provided mouthwash, spit it back into the tube, seal it, and ship it all back with results coming in 24 to 48 hours.
It's an extremely affordable way to kind of test a group of people that you interact with on a regular basis.
The FDA doesn't regulate surveillance testing since it's focused on a group result, not an individual result.
I don't care which one of us is asymptomatic. I know that we need to take additional precautions, and I know that we need to contact our healthcare provider and all go get individual tests.
CEO Joel McComb says this can work with companies that want to target certain shifts or departments.
We've received orders from a very large national restaurant chain and 2 construction companies and an automotive repair shop.
But he says it can also benefit the people you live with.
And make sure that none of us are inadvertently, by being asymptomatic, spreading the virus.
There's also a new at-home test by Abbott Laboratories that was cleared by the FDA last week. This one gives you results in just 15 minutes and is virtually guided with an app. So pretty interesting thing there. Reporting live from home in Orange County, Tony Cabrera, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
It's great to see these new options coming out. All right, Tony, thank you. Up next, we're going to get an update on a situation in local emergency rooms today from ER Dr. Anthony Cardillo. Plus this.
It is a mean trick that can cost you big. I'm Danielle Lee with the influx of rolled back odometers in the used car market.
And for the first time, it appears Jetpack Man is seen flying dangerously close to planes at LAX has now been captured on video.
And on Christmas Eve, we have some rain and snow in Southern California and much more on the way. My 7-day forecast coming up.
It's one of LA's most intriguing and dangerous aviation mysteries we've reported on, but we may finally have our first glimpse of the infamous Jetpack Daredevil. This is video from a pilot capturing what appears to be the elusive Jetpack Man flying off the coast of Palos Verdes at about 3,000 feet elevation. It's the first sighting since October of Jetpack Guy after a string of airline pilots reported seeing someone on a jetpack flying near LAX. There are now ongoing FAA and FBI investigations.
COVID cases continue to skyrocket and hospitals are hammered. What kinds of decisions will healthcare workers be forced to make if things continue?
It's sounding quite scary this holiday season. Dr. Anthony Cardillo, CEO of Mend Urgent Care and ER Doctor, is here with the latest information. Doctor, tell us what the situation has been like today leading up to this holiday and what you think we're going to see after the holiday.
Okay, guys. Well, luckily, we are seeing a little bit of a lower case of patients coming in that are non-COVID. So the typical flu, cough, all of those other ailments that we would see in the urgent care. On the emergency level side, we are seeing a decline in the normal emergency room patients. However, we are seeing that rapid incline that we're seeing and that increase in the number of pure COVID-related cases, and those that we're still getting hammered with. We have a lot of patients still boarding in the emergency departments. What's happened really is it's becoming a resource issue for all of us. In America, we've really been unaccustomed to not having resources available in the emergency departments. We've been very good in the ERs all throughout America in knowing how to triage appropriately. Unfortunately, we're at a point now where we can no longer triage these COVID patients, and they're just boarding in our emergency departments. It's not long before we no longer have any more room to care for these patients. So it's vitally important you keep yourself healthy and safe and follow the guidelines to help us help you, okay? We need to diminish the caseload as we enter the new year because we don't have any more wiggle room as we enter into January 1 with more cases.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about this. We want to ask you about 2 new studies that show having COVID-19 may offer some protection against future infections. So what does that tell us?
Yeah, well, this is certainly the holy grail, right? We're all chasing after this knowledge to find out if a previous infection is going to confer immunity for future infections. We pretty much know theoretically that that's what's going to happen. There are very few cases worldwide of people that have been infected a second time during a particular season. In fact, this is the whole premise of vaccinations, right? We want to confer that immunity by giving you sort of a fake, immune response with the vaccine. So I think we're all on the same page now that once you get infected, you're going to be covered for at least this season. What we don't know yet, like I said, the holy grail is future seasons. Is this going to be like influenza, where every single year we're going to have these mild mutations that are going to lead to another round of infections, therefore necessitating a vaccine every single year for every single member?
Yeah, it's scary to think how society might have changed forever moving forward. Let's get to our viewer question today. It's from Teresa in Silmar, who wants to ask about the vaccines that are out there, asking, she knows that the 2 are mRNA vaccines, both the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine. Is there another one coming out that has a different formula than the others? I know a lot of people here are mRNA, doctor, and get a little worried about putting that in their body.
Yeah, and there are other mechanisms that are coming out, whether it's AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson. They have other vehicles which replicate more of the older school model, where we take an adenovirus or a cold virus and we use that machinery to insert the genetic material of the coronavirus into that adenovirus. And that little machinery, that virus, makes the proteins that then go out into the body that our immune system recognizes and makes immunity to. What the Moderna and Pfizer vaccine are doing is they're just taking out the little snippet of the mRNA, that little piece out of that puzzle, and having our own cells manufacture the S protein. So yes, there is a little bit of a concern because we haven't used the technology, before. I was vaccinated last Thursday. I'm still doing fine. So we are big believers in this technology. It's just reducing a lot of the, the viral machinery necessary to get that protein, the S protein, made. So, but if you're uncomfortable, AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson should be out, we're hoping, by March or April.
Oh, that's great. That's a relief. Well, Dr. Cardillo, thank you for joining us. Merry Christmas to you and your family. I hope you have a wonderful and safe holiday. Again, Dr. Cardillo is answering your questions about coronavirus every day here on Eyewitness News at 4 o'clock. To submit a question, go to abc7.com/coronavirus and click on Ask the Doctor.
Okay, Alex Cheney joining us today. And Alex, over the weekend, we missed a glorious opportunity to come up with an alternative to White Christmas. It clearly could have just been a wet Christmas, right? We had so many bad puns in there. Wet Christmas would have been perfect.
I think, White Christmas Eve at least is going to apply right now, because that's what we have outside. A nice early gift out there with the snow and the rain coming in for today. And here's a look outside right now. This is Wrightwood, so already a little bit of a light dusting of some snow out there. Looks absolutely fantastic. Definitely feeling like the Christmas holiday here. So we also saw lots of rain move around some areas as well. So here's a live look at your Mega Doppler 7000 HD. Still got a little bit out there right now as well. So let's take a look around in some spots. This is near the Palm Springs area as you head a little bit towards the east, towards Mecca and Thermal, getting closer to the Salton Sea. They got a pretty good cell going on over there right now. Also into the Inland Empire, up through Yucaipa. This is through the San Gorgonio Pass as well. They're getting a little bit of some rain activity over there. Things lightening up a little bit from Los Angeles on down to Long Beach. Broken up just a little bit. You saw more showers a little bit before noon today. Also into the high desert, they're going to see some rain activity. Also that light dusting of snow that we just saw out there as well. So lots going on, but this is just an appetizer because we're going to be looking at a much larger system moving in over the next few days. So I'll have more on that in just a moment, but beautiful to see that snow. Temperatures right now, 64 degrees in Los Angeles, 59 in Ontario, 60 degrees for Riverside, 41 atop Big Bear Mountain right now with that snow coming down just a little bit, 57 into Pasadena, 62 degrees in Santa Monica right now. So as that trough passes over us, you can see in the satellite picture here, this is where we are getting all of that rain and snow from as it moves through. But we're just now getting onto the other side of it, so we're not really looking at those showers continuing for the rest of the evening. in. We're going to be pretty dry as we head through Christmas Day and through Saturday as well. But beginning on Sunday night, we have another system that's going to be moving in, and this one's going to pack a much stronger moisture punch than what we saw for today. This could mean several inches of rain in some areas and also several inches of some fresh snow as well. Then eventually by Monday, the Rocky Mountain's going to get hit by a lot of snow as well. So we'll see that in 7-day in just a moment. Lows for tonight, 48 degrees in Thousand Oaks, 52 degrees in Malibu, 47 for Los Angeles, 48 for Pasadena, 43 in Long Beach, 50 degrees in Huntington, 40 for Lake Elsinore, 41 degrees in Temecula. Your highs for tomorrow, we're looking good, sunny and warm, 72 in Riverside, 72 degrees for Irvine, 72 in Pasadena, 69 degrees for Inglewood. Some of these temperatures are slightly above their seasonal averages, 68 degrees for Malibu. 7-day forecast, so Christmas Day is looking great, sunny and warm outside, and then immediately temperatures begin to drop off as we welcome in that new winter storm. Beginning Sunday night, we could see some showers possible, definitely on Monday. So areas in LA and Orange County could see about 1/4 of an inch of rain at the most, and then beyond that, we're going to warm things back up. So the coolest day of the next 7 will be Monday as that storm comes through. Valleys and the Inland Empire, Christmas Day looks fantastic, 70 degrees outside. We'll get into the low 50s by Monday, could see 2/3 of an inch of rain in some areas, and eventually we'll warm back up. Beaches now 69 degrees and some clear skies for your Christmas Day, and then 56 degrees on Monday with a chance of some showers basically all weekend long by the coast. Mountain communities, snow level is going to be dropping to around 4,000 feet, so we could see 3 to about 6 inches of snow in some areas. So some fresh snow is fantastic. Really the first time today and heading into this coming week since the early November area. And to the deserts now, 50 degrees for Monday. Over an inch of rain is possible in some areas. So a really nice present to already be getting that rain and snow on this Christmas Eve. Hope everyone's having a great day. Colleen.
Yeah, we certainly are, Alex. Thank you. Well, still ahead, the scene at local airports as the TSA reports the most travelers yet since the start of the pandemic, despite doctors and health officials pleading with everyone to just stay home this year.
And the Rams' Andrew Whitworth showing why he's been nominated for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award given for charity work. The big offensive lineman giving back in a big way in South Los Angeles.
The Detroit Lions are on their 3rd head coach this season, but it is not because they have a trigger-happy front office. The realities of COVID hitting the Motor City hard, taking out interim head coach Darrell Bevell and 4 other defensive coaches due to virus protocols. He is the first head coach to miss a game due to COVID protocols all season. The Lions host the Buccaneers on Saturday.
The Rams' Andrew Whitworth is a 4-time Pro Bowler and veteran leader on this team who, despite being injured right now, is still known for the great things he does off the field. He's the team's nominee for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award because, as community journalist Ashley Mackey shows us, this big offensive lineman also has a big heart.
LA Rams left tackle Andrew Whitworth and his family are spreading some holiday cheer to South LA families affiliated with St. Joseph Center, currently staying at Sola Open Air Transitional Living.
I wanted to make sure that we just gave you a little extra blessing for Christmas and to let you know we're thinking about you. You know, we want the best for you and that honestly that we love you.
The Whitworths purchased gifts like these here for 92 children and are providing 53 families with their own $500 grocery store gift card, along with individually packaged holiday meals.
The Whitworths are ensuring that the children here at Sola Open Air Safe Landing for Families will not go to bed hungry this season. And we're so grateful.
The Open Air RV Transitional Living Program provides safe housing for families who were living on the streets or in their vehicles. Rams' Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year nominee says he wants to make sure the families know they're loved.
I think the best you can hope from a moment like this is that one family out of all these families, at least at a minimum, is inspired to keep going and to realize that they're loved and supported.
Of love, of giving, and they really did something to my heart because I didn't expect all this, you know, from him and this program.
In Los Angeles, Ashley Mackey, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
And we're giving you a new way to fill your home with the holiday spirit during this difficult holiday season. Check out our new holiday cheer section on our streaming apps. We have a video tour of beautifully decorated homes around our area, a Yule log, and a live stream of our tower cameras across Southern California with a holiday soundtrack from KOST 103.5. Just download our ABC7 apps for Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and Android TV.
Up next, the new rules for attending Catholic services in Los Angeles, plus this.
A warning tonight if you're in the market for a used car. I'm Danielle Lee with the increased number of vehicles with rolled back odometers across the state and what to watch out for when you shop.
The busiest travel day at local airports since the pandemic began was yesterday. Not so much on Christmas Eve. I'm Rob McMillan in Ontario. Airport officials are expecting another extremely busy day next week. We'll tell you when that is, coming up.
This is Eyewitness News, now at 4.
Right now, millions of Californians defying warnings to stay home. Freeways and airports more crowded than we've seen this holiday season. So will these Christmas gatherings fuel another deadly surge in the new year? Welcome back. David and Ellen are off today. I'm Jory Rand.
And I'm Colleen Sullivan. Thanks again for joining us here on ABC7, ABC7.com, and streaming on the ABC7 Los Angeles app and Hulu Live. The pandemic's furious spread has forced many people to postpone holiday travel entirely.
But despite repeated warnings from health officials, many are still packing their bags and racing off for a Christmas getaway. Inland Empire Bureau Chief Rob McMillan live at Ontario Airport this evening with more from there. Rob.
Well, not busy out here at all right now, but one thing that health officials have got to be worried about, the fact that yesterday was the busiest travel day of the year at American airports since the start of the pandemic. Some of the last flights into Ontario Airport before Christmas are now arriving. Terminal 4 this afternoon, pretty busy, at least by Ontario standards, but some arriving flights were very crowded.
Busier than I thought it would be, definitely.
Crystal Lavitia flew in from Albuquerque on a flight that did not offer empty middle seats.
The difference I noticed now than when I traveled back in September is that there was more distance between, the seats, and now there were actually you can get any seat. So I was like, okay, no.
It is certainly less busy than this time a year ago.
It was insane. The line was way down to try to check in, and so it's a lot different this year.
Officials at the airport say traffic in and out of the terminal is about 60% of what it was during the holidays in 2019, but things are starting to pick up.
When you consider that earlier during the pandemic, traffic was down everywhere, about 90%, it really has picked up.
To be clear, though, CDC guidelines are recommending postponing holiday travel during the pandemic. However, flight radar shows very busy skies indeed. This image was from yesterday. Back inside the terminal, Cindy Newman hasn't flown since before the pandemic, but desperately wants to see a family member in Sacramento for Christmas.
We haven't seen her in over a year, so we're ready.
Newman's daughter has flown recently and says she feels pretty safe.
Same thing we did the first time we traveled. We just brought lots of hand sanitizer, wore our masks, and stayed away from any large crowds, and we were fine.
Now, they do offer rapid COVID-19 testing here at Ontario Airport, but that testing has ended for today and will be closed tomorrow for Christmas. And if you're wondering about when it's going to be extremely busy at the airport again, at least here at Ontario, that typically happens on a Friday. Won't be tomorrow because it's Christmas, but they say expect another really busy day like we saw yesterday next Friday when people head home. That day is, of course, New Year's Day. Live in Ontario, Rob McMillan, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
All right, makes sense, Rob. Thank you. With Christmas looming, the nation's shipping infrastructure is straining under the weight of two major problems: a wave of late packages and the incoming flood of online returns. According to tech analyst Navar, shoppers are expected to return twice as many items as they did last holiday season. But with carriers already overwhelmed, they may not receive refunds for several weeks afterwards. The delays could end up costing companies companies over $1.1 billion.
Pope Francis celebrating Christmas Eve Mass early in a near-empty Vatican Basilica. In keeping with social distancing protocols, only about 200 faithful, rather than thousands, spaced out in the Basilica's pews. Masks were required. Mass started 2 hours early to allow those in attendance to get home by Italy's 10 p.m. curfew. Since the pandemic began, Pope Francis has said people must obey measures to contain the virus. Italy is now the 8th country to exceed 2 million recorded cases.
The LA Archdiocese has released new guidelines for indoor church services. Parishes in LA County can resume indoor mass providing there is space for social distancing of at least 6 feet between families. Face masks are also required, and measures for cleaning and sanitation must also be followed. The new guidelines follow recent changes from LA County allowing indoor services to resume if certain safety protocols are in place. And you can watch Christmas Mass tomorrow from the safety and comfort of your own home. The service of the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Angels will be on the Localish Network and over the air on digital channel 7.2 and via cable on all the channels you see right there on your screen. That is tomorrow at 2 p.m.
A warning this afternoon for anyone in the market for a used car. Vehicle experts are seeing a 23% increase this year in vehicles on the road with a rolled back odometer.
That is so disturbing, and accidentally purchasing one of these cars can cost you big. Here's Eyewitness News investigative reporter Danielle Lee.
In a state that's known for its freeways and traffic jams, drivers are no strangers to racking up serious miles on their vehicles. But when it comes to buying a car, generally speaking, the lower the odometer, the higher the value.
So if you are shopping for a used car, this should be on your list of things that you're looking at.
Emily Voss is the public relations director for Carfax, a vehicle history website for buyers and sellers. And she has a warning for anyone shopping for a used car.
We have seen an increase in odometer fraud.
The worst offender in the country, she says, is Los Angeles, home to more vehicles with a rolled back odometer than any other city nationwide.
It's very simple to do.
Josh Engel owns Atlanta Speedometer, a company that specializes in odometer repair, and he says there are valid reasons to alter an odometer.
When they break, then we can find a replacement unit and we can program the mileage to it.
Problem is, improving technology has made that same device Josh uses easy to obtain online for a couple $100, and not everyone uses it legitimately.
The impact can be huge. Just take this 2010 Honda CR-V. It's got a little over 133,000 miles on it. Kelley Blue Book puts the value at about $8,100. But roll back that odometer to 90,000 miles, and the value increases by about 15%, or over $1,200.
There are steps you can take to make sure that you're more informed.
Emily of Carfax recommends buyers always test drive a vehicle, pull a vehicle history report, and look for any red flags, such as an odometer reading that hasn't increased over several years. And then get an inspection from an independent mechanic.
They have a trained eye, so they might see things that you or I don't see.
The last thing you want is any surprises like unexpected maintenance, higher insurance premiums, or a car that's harder to resell, all because that vehicle wasn't as advertised. Danielle Lee, ABC7 Eyewitness News.